time sitting here.
Definitely.
And then you can come back and finish your shift or whatever, and went back for the rest of the day. A lot of this stuff is just gee whiz. I mean, I can tell you why it's here. I can't tell you how it works. I can't work it myself, but I've got a little personal story about it a little bit later. But the main interest is that big circular screen or chart back there.
Right there?
Yeah. The center of that chart is the Hornet. And everything is relative bearing from the Hornet. All the radar information, the ranges are set. You can change it if you want to, but the airborne radar has a range of about 300 miles. It can have. The surface radar is less range because the radar frequency beam is FM in that straight line. And if you're junkie on this, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. And the Earth curves away, so the surface falls away, and the radar beam just goes straight. So that's why the surface range is shorter than the airborne range. Behind that screen will be some sailor with a grease pencil, and his job is to receive any information that the scope people pick up and relay to him. And if it's noteworthy enough to assign a number to it, and he makes a little type there at the top. And every subsequent report on that bogey or whatever it is, he adds a part to the tail, and that gives him the direction and the speed that the unknown is traveling. What's unique about it is this fella, or now it could be a girl now, is writing backwards. That's so the officer standing up here where we are can read it and then make any decisions as to action or call for help if it gets down to that. Different ways of identifying that bogey. One is IFF, identification friend or foe, is a radar identification system of transponder. Every day a code is determined for all friendly forces in the area, and the pilot would be the pilot and the radar operators would have that code inserted into the machines, and when the radar interrogates the airplane, the radar transponder should automatically reply with the code, and then they would acknowledge it as real and be a friendly. If they do not get that adequate acknowledgement, they can be determined as a foe or an unknown. And then they would take further action. If there were airplanes in the area, they would send out airplanes to intercept and see who it is. And in some cases, it may be a sleepy airline pilot or something, and if they can get his attention and nudge him out of the way, then everything is all right. But if it continues and they still do not get identification, if the airborne airplanes can't do it, if they need to launch other airplanes from carriers, they go out and intercept it, and until it's resolved one way or another, out to the ultimate solution of shooting them down. So that's what that and those quite a few words, I guess, is why this area is here, to protect the ship and the fleet.
Pretty cool.
This has special interest for me in that the airplane I flew in my 4 years at the Air Force was the radar Constellation, Lockheed Constellation, and it had an airborne version of this. We had 6 tons of radar equipment, 5 scopes, 13 scope radar operators, and we flew off the west coast of the U.S., border to border at different stations, spending 12 to 14 hours in a crack, just droning in a racetrack pattern looking for Russians or anybody else. And then when the Cuban Missile Crisis came out, we were sent to Cuba, and we flew around the island of Cuba with radar at the altitude of 50 to 75 feet. And our job was to track the U-2 aircraft that flew over Cuba to document the missile sites and the Russian activity in that area. So we did that I did that for 4 months, 2 different tours. And then during Vietnam, our unit was sent to Vietnam to do the same thing, plus a couple of other activities, and in the Gulf of Tonkin, once again at the altitude of 50 to 75 feet over the water. I'm here to tell about it, and it makes me feel kind of happy, but also tells you what some of our young people are doing nowadays to protect us and ensure our safety, and have been doing ever since I was young. And I show nothing but admiration to them. Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard, you name it.
So did you?
Any questions?
Did you actually get to fly the U-2?
No, I didn't fly the U-2. No, we flew the radar Connie, who was used to document the position of the U-2. The U-2, we flew out of the Orlando Airport, McCoy Air Force Base, at that time, and the U-2 also.
What kind of plane was that?
The Lockheed?
The one that you flew.
The U-2 was a high altitude spy plane.
Yeah, the one that you.
It was all black.
The one I flew was the commercial. You ever see TWA triple tail 4-engine piston airplane? It's a commercial airliner. It was developed in the early 1940s, late 30s, 1940s, and it was converted to military use for the Air Force and the Navy with this radar equipment inside. Another funny little thing about this, I was talking to a group